Russia, the world's largest country. Home to a population of over 140 million people, a vibrant culture, and a rich natural landscape. Thanks to its enormous supplies of oil and natural gas, Russia has played an increasingly significant role in global energy politics over the past few years. Current estimates peg Russian oil stockpiles at approximately 80 billion barrels. That's 7% of the world's total oil reserves, and rumor has it that another 100 billion barrels have yet to be discovered. The country has also accounted for 80% of the growth in oil production outside of OPEC over the past decade, and holds over a fifth of the world's natural gas supplies. Since the fall of communism, Russia's economy has been turbulent at the best of times. But the continued dependence of the West on an oil-based energy infrastructure and the rise of developing economies like China and India mean that brighter days might finally lie ahead. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the real land of opportunity. Over the course of the late 20th century, the country's entire economic infrastructure underwent a radical paradigm shift, and the new Russia did not emerge unscathed. The reforms of Mikhail Gorbachev and his successor Boris Yeltsin ushered in democracy and free market economics. Large portions of previously state-owned industry were sold off, allowing a handful of businessmen, including Mikhail Khodorkovsky, former owner of the Yukos Oil Company, and Roman Abramovich, owner of the Sibneft Oil Company and Chelsea Football Club, to establish themselves as powerful and wealthy oligarchs. This inequitable distribution of capital resulted in massive economic turmoil, culminating in the financial crash of 1998. Today, in the wake of yet another financial crisis, Russia is at last in a position of advantage. News of the country's massive oil reserves has finally come to light, and with Western countries seeking to become independent of the Middle East, Russia has managed to acquire fantastic political clout. The ruble, long considered a defunct and unstable currency, has benefited tremendously as a result. With record high oil prices and the American dollar waning, financial speculators see Russia's energy boom as a chance for it to establish its currency as a major player on the international market. There is, however, one big problem: the government. Although oil money is funding numerous construction and modernization projects across the country, many argue that it still isn't going to the people who need it most. Instead, they believe that a corrupt bureaucracy is using its growing power to hoard wealth and slowly monopolize its control of the industry. These claims seem plausible when one considers just how poorly regulated Russia's energy industry is, and it's not showing any signs of improvement. Oil and gas exports constitute well over 50% of the country's budget revenue. However, state-imposed production taxes are so high that production has been falling despite a global rise in demand. The colossal amount of red tape also offers little incentive for enterprising companies to invest in more efficient technology, develop new fields, or pioneer exploration missions in uncharted areas of Siberia and the Arctic. State-owned oil and gas firms aren't faring much better either. Gazprom and Rosneft both acquired massive debts in annexing smaller private companies and have yet to fully recover. In particular, Rosneft's controversial takeover of the Yukos Oil Company has fueled a significant amount of the speculation surrounding the government's future plans for the energy industry. The rise and fall of Yukos, in fact, represents a unique subplot in the chronology of Russian modernization and the state's growing interest in the oil and gas industries. Yukos's former CEO, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, was one of a handful of highly competent entrepreneurs who acquired massive personal fortunes during the turmoil of the Yeltsin years through ruthless business practices, and eventually established himself as Russia's richest man. But in spite of the controversy surrounding the acquisition of his wealth, Mr. Khodorkovsky did invest a considerable amount of it into the development of schools and other social welfare programs across the country, and was among the first of the oligarchs to apply a westernized management style to his company. He quickly became a key link between Russia and the West, with some analysts predicting that he would be the leader Russia needed to usher Western-style economic and financial reform into the country's defunct and inefficient businesses. In 2003, however, he was arrested on a series of dubious charges and sentenced to 8 years in prison after a trial which many suspect to have been rigged. International observers have condemned the arrest, labeling it as Kremlin power politics. In essence, they argue that Mikhail Khodorkovsky had become the embodiment of a form of economic liberalization that would seriously undermine the current state authority, and so he simply had to go. and it is unlikely that he will be free again anytime soon. So what does the future hold for Russia? In an age of global capitalism and economic liberalization, the Russian state is desperately trying to retain some form of legitimacy, and this can only be done if it is both the nucleus and the catalyst for what it terms to be progressive development. The country's economy is, however, extremely dependent on its oil and gas exports to the West, and as it assumes an increasingly important role within the international energy market, its domestic frameworks will undoubtedly confront a series of challenges. But whether those challenges will in turn foster any lasting difference in the organization of Russian businesses and the Russian energy industry, let alone the Russian state, is yet to be seen.